Hey everyone, and welcome to 10 Talks. I am your host, Kyle Garza.
I'm your co-host, Don Trimble.
And I'm your co-host, Nick Busta.
And today we're going to be talking to you guys a little bit about the subject of charity and donations and worthy causes for you to back up in your daily life. Be a little less selfish, get out there, make the world a better place. Nick, you want to start us off? Because I know you got your heart involved in quite a few of them.
See what you did there. All right, so yeah, actually, the first, because I have three, but I could be rather, I could be succinct. The first two do involve the heart. So the first one that I've supported and my wife and I continue to support is called the Children's Heart Foundation. And the Children's Heart Foundation is a nonprofit, and what they do is 100% of their proceeds, I believe it's 100%, but it goes strictly towards research to combating and finding cures for congenital heart disease. And really important to us, I mentioned before that my wife was born with a heart problem. And despite it being the most common birth defect, it actually gets very little attention or funding. So being able to provide a way for doctors to have the tools financially to try and find ways to help, improve the livelihood of kids. That's super important to us because it's helped out Jenny in the past, and we want to do that. That was one of the organizations that benefited when I did that bike ride across the country.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because you're He-Man, and you just think going casually from one coast to another is no big deal.
I had a summer, so that's the first one. Second one is the Adult Congenital Heart Association, and it's kind of like the the adult version of the Children's Heart Foundation. We work together a lot.
Adults, yeah.
So there is such thing as the American Heart Association, but they tend to favor more and do a lot more research for acquired heart disease, heart attacks, and the like. So the Adult Congenital Heart Association is specifically for if you were born with a condition.
Gotcha.
And they do a lot of events. They have a national conference every few years that Jenny and I go to. They do a lot of different programs to help adults to become more comfortable, having more knowledge about their condition, or what's it like with in this social aspect, dating. Do you tell the person you're dating initially, off the bat, or do you wait? How does that look? Or, navigating the ins and outs of insurance, for kids who grow up, and they're like, oh, how does this work once I get off my parents' plan? Things like that. And then that's really cool.
Nice.
And that really helped out Jenny too. And it gave us, networking, to meet with other people who have similar conditions, which is
empathy.
really important for these people because,
right.
Even though it's the most common birth defect, you can feel lonely thinking I'm the only one, and so oh, you do, you can share that experience. That's amazing. And then Camp del Corazon, which is a summer camp for kids who
with Spanish hearts.
There you go. That exactly. No. And so it's a camp that meets on Catalina Island every year. This year is the one exception because of everything going on, but we volunteer. Jenny went there as a kid. Is for kids with acquired and congenital heart disease, and they can go and be kids. And there's rock climbing and kayaking and snorkeling and arts and crafts.
Which island did you say? Santa Cruz?
Catalina.
Okay, that's the one where Avalon is, right?
That's the one.
The big pretty city in front.
Mm-hmm.
So is the camp on the backside of the island?
Yeah, exactly. So you look at all the beautiful hotels, things on Avalon, and then you go around the island
to the ugly side, and that's where the fun happens.
Where you got the cabins, where there are no doors, stuff like that. But it's fine. No, honestly, it's an awesome place, and so we are, it helped Jenny so much growing up, and we're privileged that we can go back and.
How long of summer camps are they? Are they week stints?
They are 5 days, and they have 4 sessions now because it grew a lot. It's an absolute blast. I would also lifeguard there, which is it's so much fun with these kids,
That's really cool. You get to serve
awesome.
in it too. That's awesome.
Thanks, man. So it's a lot of fun. So that was my 3 in a nutshell. But if there are questions afterwards, I'll be sticking around.
Absolutely. Worthy causes, all of them and each. I grew up with 2 particularly big ones. Obviously, our church is a big tithing one. It's a big part of committing yourself to trusting God with your money, your first fruits. And two really big ministries that I know we've supported are Far Reaching Ministries and Zoe International.
Yeah.
I'll do Zoe International first because I think more people have heard of that one. So Zoe International is an organization that primarily works out of Thailand, and it's simple. Their goal is to rescue children from child trafficking. How they do that though is unreal. So we have folks at our church that have volunteered, like flown out there, lived there, worked with Zoe, worked with local police forces. It is nuts. Zoe is involved in full-on police stings on these operations. I'm talking full-blown arriving at a building with a bunch of armed police officers and literally raiding a warehouse where children are being detained. Insane stuff like that. So they are doing the Lord's work out there. And then in other smaller capacities, they have sort of an orphanage school for the children that they rescue to sort of rehabilitate them. The tragic thing in a lot of areas of like really rural Thailand is some villages that are like way out there are so impoverished basically that they will willingly sell their children to people that basically promise them a better life or tell them that, you know, things will be better and we'll pay you and help you and this kind of thing. So what Zoe actually tries to do is work again with local law enforcement and through their secret web of, you know, intelligence in general. And they at times will literally intercept the deals that are going on between child traffickers and village people, and they will literally outbid them to save their kids, to either keep their kids in the community, or if they are sold to the traffickers, they will literally buy them out of the traffickers and then tell police what's going on there, and then they can be arrested. So incredible work that they're doing, especially because that is just one of the most heinous forms of evil I think that the world has today. So that's Zoe. Zoe's awesome. They were super precious, actually. When COVID started in the United States, in their area, in the school that these kids are living, they heard about how bad it was in America, and it wasn't really hitting them in Thailand where they were. And they literally pooled money. The kids like chose to do this, pooled money together to send to our church in the United States to help us.
Oh my gosh.
And that pool of money, kid you not, was like $24.32, something like this, right? I mean, it was just the absolute encapsulation of, you know, the woman who gives the mite, you know, just it's everything she had. So our hearts at our church are super yoked to those people. We love them dearly. The other ministry that we've been really involved in, and I've personally donated to as well, and I get the updates even to this day in the newsletters, is Far Reaching Ministries. Far Reaching Ministries basically does work with people in Sudan. So Sudan is one of those countries that, I don't know, for some reason it's one of those things that if you live in the U.S., you don't know a lot about the conflict in Sudan. It's basically a decades-long civil war that left the country in ruins, right, and left ordinary village people basically stranded alone and kind of defenseless against like the guerrilla warfare and the various, you know, evil factions that were trying to take over the government. So what Far Reaching Ministries did initially was train up chaplains, and occasionally they would also donate funds to military groups in the area that were there to protect village people. I mean, I'm talking like your donation money to them literally funds bases that they build in these areas where village people from around the area will flock at night because they don't want to sleep in their own villages at home because of the standard kind of thing that happens when you live in an area that's exposed like that, right? Like you don't want someone, you know, roaming through your village, taking your children, making child soldiers, and basically decimating you. So literally it's like building shelters. I feel
guilty right now. I don't even know if I can listen to this. We live so cush.
I know.
Right? Yes, exactly.
It's one of those things that like sobers you to the reality of just how vicious the world is outside of the United States, especially. Obviously, we have plenty of problems of our own to deal with, but these are on the levels of. I mean, I literally cannot share the stories that the guys, like the founder, for example, of Far Reaching Ministries, he's come to our church a couple times and described to us just the carnage that is left in the wake of these evil military regimes. that are just trying to abuse the people, and they just do their very best to protect them wherever they possibly can. Constantly in the newsletters, they're giving you updates on chaplains that have died in service, basically laying down their lives to protect people. So those two, in my mind, have been like the most meaningful ones that I've donated to over the years, because I mean, it is just the most poor and defenseless in the world that I can think of that they're protecting, and that you're donating to. And they do all kinds of other things too, but those are like the main things that those two organizations are known for.
You know, if I piggyback on that real quick, Kyle, because there's another organization that we support. You guys may have heard of it. It's called Voice of the Martyrs. And it was founded by, a pastor from Romania and his wife and son, Pastor Richard Vermbron. And he wrote a book, Tortured for Christ, which was essentially his biography. He was captured by the Communist Party in Romania and tortured for 14 years. And 3 years in solitary. How he even kept his sanity in that is truly the Lord's work. But yeah, I mean, that their whole focus is, providing resources to places around the world where Christians are being targeted. And you look at a map, they send you a map, and you think, so many countries. And I had no, I knew, of course, I'm getting very passionate, so I gotta slow down here.
I hear you though. But I know what you're talking about. It's like I can't remember the numbers they use, it like the 80-20 window, where it's like the mostly unreached area, mostly on the Eastern Hemisphere. But I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So being able to contribute towards that, and actually I'm trying to get more of that into the classrooms for the students to see, like, this is what, this is real. Like what we are teaching you is not a fairy tale, things like that. Like more Christians were killed in the 20th century than the previous 19 centuries put together. So when people say, "Oh, we're getting better, we're getting more moral," that's a really hard argument to
depending on where you live, isn't it? Right?
Yeah. Not to interrupt. I want to get
on that gloriously happy note, Don. Lift up our spirits.
I love you dudes though. Seriously, like even just you two going and just hearing, I love how immediate those organizations are, and just how you see this direct, each of you guys, you can see like you guys know about it, and it does matter to you. It's really cool. I will say though, like right off the bat, just with the subject matter, I'm so skeptical. Dude, I was like, I don't know if I was born this way, but I am a very, very skeptical person. So I know that this, like I hadn't thought about it until like you said this, Kyle, and I was just like, dang, I know that this wasn't intentional, but yet I know very intentionally I approach things like I'm very obsessed with Tolstoy. Okay. Not just because he wrote about art, but this dude just blows my mind. And there's this parable that he talks about where basically the moral of it is God is going to place in front of you exactly what you need to be a part of. Right. And if you don't respond to that, this is God's call to you.
Yeah.
And that's the way I live. So with church, like I believe like what you give of yourself is not just monetary. Okay. And the seed, so to say, that you're sowing, this should go way past your tithe. So the things that are immediate to me, I'm ridiculously, honestly, at times way too liberal. Like my wife will let me know, and others around me, they're like, whoa. So this could be the homeless guy. But even that too, I very, very much so, I just believe that the Holy Spirit is going to lead you in a moment, and you're going to know, right? And I believe a moment can be condescending in a nature too, right? I believe a charity, I've seen non-for-profits like open up and close really quick. And I've seen monies and heard about monies going places, and I just want to be a part of it to know. So not to say that, and just like as you were saying, Kyle, too, right? Obviously churches are involved in a ton. So we've given to a ton and been involved in a ton, but at the same time, I just have always, when people will talk about this, thought about the moments that, like I've given
just
my
time or invested in people.
Katie and I have delved in. We've always been a part of just youth groups, insanely, and just a part of anything a church is doing to a ridiculous degree. I just told you guys about the school that my wife has been a part of. But I will say this: too many things, and I'm not even going to name a nonprofit. I'll do that. That'll be it was so hard for me to move out into the area in which we are right now, because I was teaching at a school where everything that I gave, okay, and that anybody else would be involved with the school, just it was totally giving above and beyond, right? And you knew it as just teaching there. And a lot of people didn't want to be a part of the school because of it. Okay, it was just a lower income school, and students would come there and they wore their stories totally on their sleeves, and it was hard. And then I heard about this school that
polar opposite.
Talk about cushy living.
Yeah.
And I walked on the campus and it was like, oh no, no.
Yeah, I feel.
But
that.
I'm telling you, I know the Lord was shifting some stuff in my life and letting me know really loud and clear that maybe that is the place on earth that needs Jesus to be dropped, the real deal thing.
There you go.
More than anything, because dude, if you're living cushy, you don't realize, just as you guys were saying, like, man, this wakes you up. These not-for-profits wake you up to what's really happening on earth.
I hear what you're saying.
We're in an ugly time, and just, I don't know, the world is weird, right?
Yeah.
There's always been bad, but sometimes it just, it's heightened and you see it more.
So I think I especially see where you're getting this too. When I first started working at the school where we work, one of the solidifying things that I read was Jesus's commentary of, it is harder for the rich to enter heaven than anyone else.
Yes.
And I've always thought of that concept of how do you tell someone who feels like they need nothing that they need Jesus, they need God. So I likewise, I like what your point is here, in that charity, we often think of it, and this is literally my default too, we think of it as donating money or finances in general or aid to people that don't have. And in many ways, there's also a great need to donate your time, your life, your relationship with people who have too much.
Yes. No, and I mean, how many times did Jesus reference the hardened of heart, of hearing, just the numb, right? And whoa, what does that mean? What does that really mean? And what's going to shake and wake people up? I don't know. I've been praying on this. But I don't know. I guess this is where I always go to, and this always really rocked me. So at that school that I taught at, there was a guy that worked there, and his name was Mr. Penner. And he was, no joke, 90-some years old. He would ride his bike to the school, and he was a former minister. And he wouldn't tell anybody. I just kept digging this up because I'm like, who is this guy? And he would go into a class, pull out his saw, and play it with a violin bow. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh, okay.
And I'm just, there's no other word, I'm just weird, okay? So I would hear it, and I'd be like, what is happening? And I'd run down the hall, and I'd be like, Mr. Petter's here. And I'd take my class too. And so just imagine these moments, this would really happen. He would be in a room, and all I know how to do musically is, I used to know how to play piano, but I do percussion, okay? And if I didn't have anything there, I would beatbox with a saw, which...
I'm not in the least bit fazed by that information, knowing you.
Yeah, knowing you, of course. So,
but it was this dude's heart, and you could tell he was just giving. He did not need to do this for the money, okay? And he was there, and he would go into every single class and just share a story. And I'm telling you, I don't know how to describe how this rocked me, because I'd watch even students just lean into it and really listen to him. One, because this dude was an alien, right? He was just not what they knew, but it mattered, and it meant something to them. Everything from the saw and just what they knew he was giving. But I remember one day just walking, because I would always look for him. And he's in this room, and he's sitting there, and he's writing. And he actually tried to hide it too. I walk in, and he's like, oh, Penner, how are you, man? What's going on? I just start talking. And he finally just was like, I'm just going to show you this. And he was not the guy, right, that also is referenced in the Bible, that's going to, right, walk up to the front of the church and be like, I'm going to tithe right now, everyone, right? The dude was writing a letter to every single missionary that he was actually giving money to.
Wow.
And he knew them from his time. And I don't know, I guess that's the approach that I want to have, like in my life. And I love how with you guys it's so immediate. The immediacy is very real. I love you guys. I love you guys.
Oh, thank you for your camera hug. Fist bump? Is this copyrighted by PewDiePie?
Elbow.
Are we allowed to do that?
Only elbows right now.
Yeah, I want to say like I'll put the elbow up. It's fine.
Yeah, don't cough on me.
Yeah.
Well, that was really special, dude. I really thank you for sharing that too.
Yeah, Don, seriously, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I think the reason this matters again is just because we are, I think by default, wealthier than 63% of planet Earth, or 73. There was a Forbes article that had that a couple years back. By default, I mean, living in America, the poorest of the poor, we're still better off than the majority of planet Earth. And it always brings me back to that question, kind of like that film version of Schindler's List. Could I have given more? You know, that's the constant question that's bugging me is, am I living too comfortably? Can I still give more of my time, of my finances, of my heart to people? And I'm really glad that you guys share that too. We encourage anybody, of course, if you're interested in finding more out about these organizations or habits that we've trained up in ourselves, feel free to talk to us. I would say smash that like button or things like that, but we don't need that. We just need you to love people.
That's right.
That is today's episode of 10 Talks.
Right. Later.